Welcome to the Grizzled Geek special report, where we're going to review Bladerunner 2049.
Yeah.
That's the date, 2049?
2049.
All right. Doug and I saw this movie Thursday last week.
In a packed IMAX theater. There was 6 people there?
Yeah, I think 6. Yeah. Did not bode well. Was not a good sign for the movie.
No.
But we were going to we planned on watching it, to have a review for it up by Friday, right? Just going to watch that night. Throw a review.
Yeah.
Originally, we're going to do like a normal outside the theater, quick little handheld cam review.
Yeah.
But this is not a movie that warrants just a quick review.
No.
Right? And we
Well,
wanted a few days to mull it over.
Yeah, first we got out of the theater at like 1:30 a.m. because it is 2 hours and 44 minutes long.
Yes.
And then I guess to get into let's start at our initial reaction, because we both walked out of the theater with the same reaction, which was like puzzlement.
Yeah.
Like, what just happened?
Not that we didn't understand the movie, but the fact that we sat through 3 hours engaged, totally engrossed in a movie that neither one of us liked that much. So, and which is odd because we're going through, we need to puzzle out our feelings on this movie. That's one of those movies.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those movies you got to think about. You got to actually take some time. You might want to see it on multiple viewings, although with a 3-hour runtime.
Yeah,
that's
probably not going to happen until it comes out on video.
Yeah.
I can't see. Well, no, I take it back. There are a lot of diehard Blade Runner fans out there who are just gushing about this movie.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that from a diehard Blade Runner fan. I'm not like a cinephile. I'm not all into, oh, that was great cinematography. Oh, and the lighting was awesome and all that. I like a well put together movie.
Yeah.
But that's not why I go to a movie.
It was pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing. The cinematography was amazing in this.
It ticks all the boxes.
Yeah. The world looks like Blade Runner world expanded.
Yeah.
It goes into.
Although I did have problems with the expansions, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. But it was one of those movies where I had to see what other people were thinking about this. I don't normally go through and before I review a movie watch other people's reviews, but I wanted to see what other people thought because I did not expect to feel this way about the movie. So, and I was shocked that pretty much all the reviews are like gushing. They're like
super positive
reviews. Yeah,
and they do. I don't, by and large, watching everybody's reviews, I don't necessarily disagree with what they have to say. I just think they ignore everything that's wrong with the movie.
Yeah.
They're so caught up in how it looks so much like Blade Runner and it feels so much like the original that they then ignore all of the problems with the movie.
Right. Now, I should say that as far as the original goes, I was one of those that it took me a while to become a fan of the original. Like when I first saw it, just like everybody else. The whole reason why it came out we were kids, 1982,
Something around there.
All right. So like everybody else, they saw like, oh, look, Han Solo's in another space movie. This is going to be amazing. I'm going to go see that. So they, go flock to see this. And then you sit there and you're like, wait, what? I'm like, this is slow and boring and there's no space fights.
Yeah.
It's a futuristic movie. It wasn't until later on. And then, I owned the director's cut and the final cut. Right. And then finally revisiting it later on as an adult, watching the final cut, you actually see where it's going. I'm a fan of the first movie. I like the first movie, but I'm not like a diehard fan. I'm not one of these that are like, this. I equate this to, it's two totally different movies, but I see the reaction of the diehard fans for this movie are like the same as the ones who are diehard fans for like Donnie Darko, right?
Oh.
Like those guys that are into that love that movie.
Yeah.
Like my son, who is a cinephile, watches that movie over and over again and praises it as one of the greatest movies ever. I get the movie. I enjoyed the movie, right?
Right.
It's like it's one of those like. And if you don't get it, if you're not one of those people, they're like, well, you just don't understand. Like, well, no, we don't understand. I get it. I understand the whole thing, but
I got it the first time around.
I got it the first time
Here's
around.
the problem with the biggest problem, in my opinion, and we'll go through the whole movie bit by bit, but my biggest problem with this 2049 is that I got it in the first movie. You're giving me the exact same thing.
Yes.
The story was essentially the same. The plot is not the same, but the story question, the theme of the movie is the same.
What it means to be human.
Yeah.
Which is the whole theme of the first one.
Right.
Which the first one did amazingly well. Not that this one didn't do it well.
Yeah, it was just retreading the same territory.
Yeah.
So that was one of the biggest issues for me.
Yeah. Now, all right, before we go into too many spoilers, because we're going to spoil the movie here.
Yeah.
What would you say you thought of the movie overall?
I'd probably give it because I like Blade Runner so much, I'd give it a 7.
A 7?
Yeah, because I did feel immersed in the world. And we'll talk about some of the problems I had with the world that they expanded on. But overall, this felt like a Blade Runner movie.
Right.
So in that sense, I would give it a 7.
Right. I like the actors, right?
There's that too.
I like the look of the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
The cinematography. I like the world, and it hits all the right nostalgia buttons if you're a fan of the first one,
Right.
So I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Here's the funny thing: if this had been the only Blade Runner movie, if it wasn't a sequel, I probably would have given it more like an 8 or an 8.5.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe even a 9, because it is overall a well done movie.
Yes.
It just didn't continue. It didn't change the story. It didn't grow at all.
Right.
So, anyways, let's go ahead and get into.
Were you a fan of the Arrival?
Yeah, I loved Arrival.
Okay.
I thought Arrival was great.
Yeah.
Denis
Villeneuve is a great director.
I mean, I like thinking movies.
Yeah.
I like the stuff that's going to make you sit down and go, "Oh, wow," mind blown kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this mind blown in all the wrong areas, in all of the wrong. Not all the wrong.
Not all the wrong.
Just all the same areas.
Right. I think. We have a few issues with the movie.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that it took me a while to figure out what exactly I had wrong with the movie, because I came out going, I know I don't love this movie, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a few things I had wrong with it. But for me, it was an overall nagging question about the replicants. But as a whole, okay. Spoiler territory.
Yeah.
Going into it, obviously we had some issues with the movie. We praised the movie as far as the look and the acting and everything.
Well, let's go over what we did like first before we get into just kind of, I don't want to say ripping it apart.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what we did like.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. I think all of the actors did a great job.
They did.
I know there were some people out there who had a problem with Jared Leto's performance. I don't. I think he did fine with the character he was given. I don't think it's a great character.
Yeah.
But I think he did a fine job.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with his acting. I loved Harrison Ford's acting. I think Ryan Gosling just did an amazing job of playing his role to perfection.
Yeah. So I heard some criticism about him being very wooden.
He was supposed to be.
But he was supposed to be. Here's the point. Here's what makes his performance amazing is the fact that, he did play the emotionless, or trying to be emotionless, replicant.
Well, for the first half, he was supposed to be that.
For the first half, yeah. But even when he was that, the little looks, little bit of action for his emotion to come through, through the facade, and he did an amazing job. That's what makes a really great actor, is the fact that he had to act that wooden and he came across that way.
Right.
But
very subtle performance.
Very subtle performance about,
So anybody who is criticizing Ryan Gosling's work on this, I think you're dead wrong. Right. This was he did a great job on that performance. Everybody did. I think the standout one was Ana de Armas. I think that's her name. As Joy, the hologram.
Yeah.
She's the standout of the movie for me.
Yes.
She was quite simply the best character in the movie, had the best story elements of the movie, she gave it the uniqueness that set this apart a little bit story-wise from the first movie.
Yeah.
the little bit that the plot, or not the plot, again, the theme of the first movie to carrying to the second movie, the little bit that's different comes from her perspective, I think.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But yeah, basically, I don't have anything bad to say about any of the actors in the movie. I think they all do great. Dave Bautista, he's only in it for a couple minutes, but he's great in it. That guy's got some acting chops.
He does. I mean, he's for a wrestler.
Yeah, for a wrestler, he's got it. So yeah, I liked all of the actors' work. Here's the thing is, all of the pieces are there, so all of the actors do a great job.
Yeah.
The cinematographer did an amazing job.
Yes.
Just the lighting is great. It evokes the first movie by adds little layers to it. It's just the whole. It's not quite as gritty to me. The city scenes aren't quite as gritty. We only really
see the city in the first one, right? You actually see outside the city at this point. Going through. It doesn't rain 100% of the time, but it doesn't
enough
to see, you can see through a little bit.
The original Blade Runner, I don't know, between the two, the original Blade Runner just seemed dirtier.
Yeah,
everything seemed a little more worn out and dirty and stuff. This one was a little brighter and a little cleaner, it seemed, in the city.
Yeah,
not a huge difference. I'm not really complaining on that front, but there was slight differences. So. Maybe that has to do with the new company that comes in and offers hope and stuff like that. There's a regular food supply and stuff like that. So, anyways, we watched this in IMAX. I would not recommend seeing it in IMAX. The sounds were overwhelming in that.
Yeah,
the music and the sound effects, they all harken back to the original movie, but the like weird horn noises and weird thrumming noises and stuff like that, which were supposed to give it this like dystopian element, they were just overwhelming in IMAX.
They were loud and kind of drowned out.
Very distracting.
Now the vistas were amazing in IMAX. You see the wide
that's true.
landscapes and all that, and the cityscapes and the whole bit. They were amazing in IMAX. But I agree with you. The sound was just
if they somehow could I don't know if it's called the track that's not the voices actors, all of the sound effects. If those could be reduced by maybe 10% in IMAX, it would probably be okay.
Right.
But yeah, those were just overwhelming. But otherwise, the sound of the score was good.
Yeah.
So those are the elements, and there are like performances and stuff like that I really liked. So that was what I came out really enjoying about the movie. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, the acting was amazing. It looked amazing. Like I said, the cinematography, the way the world looked. I mean, everything visually, it was amazing, right? I think the sound would have been better too. I mean, like I said, if we didn't see it in IMAX and it wasn't like that blaring horn,
right,
sound effect or whatever, I think it would have been better. But I mean, other than that, the sound, I mean. I like what they were doing, and I think one of the best elements of the movie is the fact that it was enough nostalgia for the first one, right, and enough of the first one coming in but it was still, it wasn't about the old characters, right? It was about new characters, a new story. I mean, like you said, it treaded on old territory, but it was a new story, new plot.
Right.
But it had enough of the old character, enough of the old to, hit all those nostalgia buttons you want.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Harrison Ford's not in it till like the last third of the movie. Right. But what he's in, what you do hear about his character, what you hear about his character, and what you see at the end is great. I mean, if you're a fan of the original, you like this. They bring Edward James Olmos back for a cameo.
Yeah, they did. That was awesome.
That was really great. I mean, they had, in a way, they bring back Sean Young.
They did, yeah.
So I mean, it's if you're like I said, if you're a fan of the original, and I hear a lot of people, I saw a lot of critics saying that you don't need to see the original to see this one. I disagree with that. I think you lose too much not having seen the original.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, it's the same story. You can stand on its own. Yes, but I think what you lose in it is not worth it. I think you there's much more, another layer of the movie that from seeing the first one that you're going to get.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are going. Here's the thing. I mean, they have a legitimate claim in that you don't need to see the first movie because the themes of this movie retell the themes from the original movie.
Right.
In that sense, you don't need to see the original. You've got a Blade Runner movie for the Blade Runner aspect of the movie.
Yeah.
You do need to see the first one. You know, if you just want the story elements, the themes, you're gonna get a fresh take with the new movie,
right?
And you don't need the old one. But if you really want the Blade Runner feel and you want the nostalgia and stuff like that, then yeah, you should see the original Blade Runner.
Right. Plus, you get the Rutger Hauer performance, the amazing Rutger Hauer performance. That I think his speech at the end drives home the whole concept of both these movies better than anything in this movie.
Yeah, and there's so many nods in this movie to the old movie that won't make sense if you haven't seen the like, why'd they do that?
That's true.
Why'd they do that? Who's that person? What's going on there? There's going to be a lot of that if you haven't seen the first one. I'm not saying don't see it if you haven't seen the first one. Just be prepared that that's going to happen.
I think the experience will be better if you saw the first one.
Yeah.
So, all right. There was a lot of things I like about this movie. However, like I said, when we came out of the movie, there was something nagging on both of us. Both of us were like, well, we don't.
Yeah, independently, we both like we separated at the end of the movie and then came back together after a couple minutes. And like he's like, "What did you think?" And I was like, "That's the most engaging movie I've ever seen that I don't think I really liked."
Yeah,
and I mean, I have revised that statement to there's a lot to like in the movie. It just the overall feeling of the movie was, I already saw this. I already got this.
This story's been told.
You already, you retread the same themes as you did the first time. Right. So,
in the first movie, basically, as I said, it was a concept of what it means to be human. Replicants want, our sentient robots, basically. Right.
Yeah, I mean they're
indistinguishable from humans.
Right.
They want they only live 4 years or something like that.
They have a pre-programmed expiration date essentially.
Right. And so they're fighting to extend that. That's basically what they want. They want to live.
Yeah.
They want to have a chance to live. And they're slave labor. They work in mines and asteroids and stuff like that. So,
right. But during the course of the movie, you find out, they have feelings. They think for themselves. Yeah. They want to live, which is one of those rules of what it means to be sentient. Is do you fear self-preservation? Do you fear death? That kind of thing. So that was the whole theme of the first movie was, what does it mean to be a human?
Right. So flash forward 30 years in the future, the original Tyrell Corporation went under, was bought out by a new corporation, and they designed new replicants that are they obey completely. They don't want,
no expiration date.
No expiration date, but they don't want free will. They want, they're very...
Yeah, they just follow orders.
They follow orders. So they're trying to hunt down the remains of the old replicants. Apparently there was a line that didn't expire. Or whatever.
Oh, right, yeah. There was like a new model at the end that didn't have the expiration dates, and now the new Blade Runners, which is, Ryan Gosling's character, have to hunt down those old and retire them.
So the new replicants, I got to hunt down the old replicants that want free will, or have free will, want to live. So that's basically the gist of the movie, right? But now they had a new twist in it that apparently Rachel, Sean Young's character from the first movie, and Dekker, Harrison Ford's character, apparently had a child.
Although we don't know that at the beginning.
We don't know that from the
beginning. There
beginning.
is nothing that indicates that.
It's kind of a mystery.
For a while. Yeah,
they find a child. They find
the skeleton.
Yeah, one of the replicants is hiding a skeleton of a woman who actually had a C-section.
Yeah, died in childbirth.
And they find a microscopic serial number on her pelvis. They thought it was human. Then they find out it was a replicant. Now they're like, a replicant that had a child. That
changes everything.
That changes everything. So they send his character on a mission to find the child and eliminate it because they can't have proof that the replicants have a child, right? Meanwhile, the new corporate Jared Leto's character.
Yeah.
He wants replicants to have children. There's nothing. We're getting to
we're
getting to part of the problems.
This is the first big problem.
Right.
Let's talk about this now.
Okay,
or do you want to give the whole plot of the movie?
I was going to give the plot away so we can explain what I have, the issues I have with it.
Sure. Go ahead and give the whole plot.
Yeah. So he wants them to self-replicate, basically, because he wants to colonize more than the 9 planets they have colonized.
Right.
He wants to have an army. He can't build replicants fast enough. Yeah. So it becomes a race to figure out who it is. It eventually turns out that, I guess, Ryan Gosling's character believes he's that child, and there's evidence.
There's some things that happen during the course of the movie that
he thinks is the child. He hunts down Dekker. Anyway, comes to find out it's Dekker. It wasn't him. He had a daughter instead, and he just has some of the memories from his daughter. That's why he thinks it's her. I think he's the child.
Right.
And then there's a big fight at the end trying to save Dekker from
Love.
Yeah.
I think the replicant's name is Love.
Love. Yeah. The assassin replicant.
Which is funny because they use that naming convention. You've got Love and Joy as two of the non-human characters.
Right. And there's a subplot. Joy, the character Doug was talking about, is a hologram that Ryan Gosling's character basically has feelings for.
This is one of the best scenes in the movie. Just to go back to some of the things we like. The best things in the movie is their interactions. Like, he comes home from being a Blade Runner.
Who gets shit on by everybody. No one likes him because he's not human, right?
Yeah, they skin job.
His crap at work. They graffiti his door in his apartment.
Yeah. So he comes home and does the stereotypical man coming home from work to his wife. Mm-hmm. And you can tell, and this is one of the brilliant things of his acting, is he goes through the motions of that person. Honey, I'm home. And he goes and he starts fixing his dinner and has a conversation with his wife or, girlfriend or whatever he's living with.
Right.
You never see her for the whole thing. You think it's like a recording or something like that.
Yeah.
And he just walks through the motions very, he's trying to play at being human, but the emotions aren't there. The connection isn't there. And then she shows up as a hologram.
Yeah, because he emitters in the living room, not in the kitchen.
Right. So as soon as she comes in, then she appears as a hologram and starts interacting.
She puts a hologram dinner over top of his gruel.
Yeah. And the hilarious thing about that is the hologram has more emotions than he does.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right. So those are...
That's basically the plot, right? Yeah. At the end, he has to save him, reunite Dekker with his daughter and the whole bit.
Right, yeah.
And then, the whole concept of if they can have children, they're human, they have feelings that are human.
Right.
That basically treating the same plot, right? Or same concept, not plot.
Yeah, the same concept is, like, what does it mean to be human? Does it mean you have emotions? Does it mean you can have kids? Does it mean...
Yeah, like I said, it is a really good movie, but there's some glaring plot holes in it, or problems we had with the movie that I don't think are being addressed by anybody else. Doug, what is your biggest one?
All right, probably the biggest one is the bad guy, the corporate, Jared Leto's corporate guy whose name escapes me at the moment. Wallace, I think it is. Yeah. Wallace. His whole idea of we need replicants to have kids because I can't make replicants fast enough. You would have to make replicants very, very slowly to having kids to be a better option.
Yeah.
You can't grow a workforce to colonize other worlds. I'm presuming he wants it to happen in his lifetime because he has this God complex.
Yeah.
I mean, he actually straight up refers to coming into his presence as coming into heaven.
Yeah. He calls his replicants angels.
He calls his replicants angels. Yeah. And he actually waffles between thinking he's God and then acting like Satan from Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
Because he also talks about storming the gates of Eden and, whatever. He's got this God complex.
Yeah.
That would presume that he wants to be able to colonize more than the 9 planets that have in his lifetime so that he gets the glory of it. If you are going to have replicants make kids to do that, that's not going to accomplish your mission.
Right. They still have to grow up. They still have to have, I don't see how a replicant mating farm is any faster than building replicants.
Yeah.
Right?
And they never explain the process of making a replicant.
Right.
We only see one created during the entire movie. Mm-hmm. However, that one comes out fully grown.
Yep.
You didn't have to wait 18 years for it or 16 years for it to be a viable worker, colonist. So, or 14 to be a viable breeder or whatever. I don't know. So that
plus those new replicants, the born replicants, wouldn't have.
And they think for themselves.
They think for themselves. They wouldn't be programmed to automatically obey. It seems like a bad idea overall. So the main bad guy's plot doesn't make sense to us. And speaking on this, one of my biggest problems with it, and it nagged me, and I couldn't quite figure out what was the problem.
Feeds right from that.
Yeah, it feeds right from that. And the fact that if obviously these replicants they're bioengineered, right? They're not robots.
Right. They're not robots.
They're not robots. They don't have synthetic parts, right? They have organic parts.
They're made out of DNA.
They have DNA established. They have DNA, right? They've established that they're so indistinguishable from humans that if it wasn't for the serial number, they couldn't tell that the remains were not humans. So
they thought it was a human until they found the serial number.
Right. Even in the first movie, they need to have that psychological test to find out if they were. Right.
And they kind of carry that over into his baseline test. Yeah. But that's just an aside. Sorry.
Yeah. But, all right. So if they're indistinguishable from humans, they're made out of the same stuff as humans. They have DNA as humans. Mm-hmm. How are they? And they're bioengineered, right? These are basically clones, right? They're not necessarily. They're not synthetic humans.
Yes, they're not.
They're humans that are like.
Yes.
Only they're made.
They were made in a lab. They were test tube babies.
Test tube babies, essentially. Yeah, because I mean, they're basically, like I said, they're basically clones. How else would I describe them? I mean, like I said, they never explain the process. But if they're made out of the same stuff, their DNA, they're almost indistinguishable. They're bioengineered. That sounds like, they're basically clones. Now, we would establish clones would have rights, right? I don't understand how they can just take that step to, like, they're not human, right? I mean, if they were robots or synthetic, right, or they had synthetic parts or whatever, and I can understand the argument against them. But, I mean, the more I thought about it, because I always thought of them in the first movie as robots, basically.
Right.
Androids. They're androids. They look like humans, but they're not humans. But now it really got into it in this movie about what they're made out of, and the whole bit, and the fact they have DNA. And it's like, I don't understand the argument for them not being human.
Right. When you make that next step, here's another reason why you really shouldn't see this movie without seeing the first one, because you need to have that carryover from the prejudice that was born in the first movie. Yeah. And that one, at least, I think they establish in the initial script of them, because both movies start with an establishing little like blurbs. Yeah. There's a couple of lines of text that come on and that explain what's happening. The world that you're getting into. And in the first one, I think they explain that humanity's kind of like on the brink, that resources are running out, and that we have to and I think in that movie's desperation, you get this idea that, if we make these artificial people, we can claim they're not real and we can use them as slaves. Right. And that will save us. So there's that desperation. Here, if you divorce yourself from that, then there's nothing in this movie that establishes why you would go, why aren't these people?
Why aren't these people? Yeah. I mean, we bioengineered them to be stronger and stuff like that.
And bioengineered them to be subservient. Yeah. But that doesn't. If you psychologically program a child from age 2 to be perfectly obedient, does that person make that person not a real human? Yeah, I mean, no. That makes you a bad person.
Yeah. But, it's one of those situations where you're like, it doesn't make that didn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. And then if you are going, the argument for having them like, okay, well, but they eat, right? They eat. They have to be fed. They have organic parts basically that have to be sustained just like a normal human. So they're not saving resources on these replicants, right? Yeah. Like for instance, the main character has his own apartment. Yeah. Right. His own equipment.
He theoretically gets paid by the police department.
You got a bonus. Yeah. In the movie, so he gets paid. Yeah. So you're not saving money. You're not saving space. You're not saving resources. They're basically humans. Yeah. Right? I mean, they're okay. Yeah. So the economy of the world doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me.
Well, and you look at it this way: if you're worried about not having enough workers, and we've already established that they can be, I don't know if they all are, but they can be made super strong.
Yeah.
Super endurant. Why are you using some of them as sex workers instead of using them all to colonize planets?
Yeah.
Because there's a big, you get that in there. They're used as any kind of thing.
Sex work's important. I mean, that's, Yeah.
But nonetheless, if you're that worried about it, why are you using them for anything other than colonizing other planets?
Right.
So there are a lot of, and they may seem like nitpicking things, but this is a nitpicking movie.
Right.
These movies are made to be really thought about, torn apart, every little grain of detail be examined to, like, what does this mean? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Why is this important? And so you've got to cover all those bases or there's something wrong with your movie.
Yeah. And at this point, why are we spending resources to kill replicant farmers at this point? Yeah. Right? Like, Dave Bautista was a farmer.
By himself, out in the middle of
nowhere. Clearly, he's not starting any revolution. Yeah. Right? But you're spending resources on, sending a Bladerunner out to eliminate him.
Right.
Why at this point? Why are we spending resources on that? I mean, there's not, I understand when there was a war, there was an uprising, but the uprising got put down, and now the remains are scattered.
And it's 30 years later.
30 years later, yeah. I mean, it's...
I guess there's always that chance that could spark some sort of fire. But, yeah,
Yeah, I would have standing guard, but I wouldn't waste resources on tracking down, especially eliminating a farmer. Like, if you found him, like, he's farming.
Out in the middle of nowhere, yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere, not doing anything. Why are we going to kill him? All right. I mean, it doesn't make sense. But
he's actually doing what we originally programmed him to do.
Yeah, exactly.
But, hey.
Yeah.
All right.
So... another issue, I think you had an issue with San Diego, Doug.
I do have a big issue with San Diego.
They go to San Diego, which San Diego is a wasteland in this one. It's a dumping ground.
It's labeled as you go, I think it's called San Diego, Los Angeles County Waste Disposal or something like that, which is funny. I was like, haha, that's funny. There's giant dump trucks literally dumping garbage on San Diego.
Right.
So, Ryan Gosling's character, Kay, flies there in his flying cop car, which they kept those, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And he gets shot at by scavengers. But anyways, as he's going through, he's flying through this like debris field, this giant debris field, including the hulks of like giant cargo ships.
Yeah.
Which are just sitting out in the middle of nowhere. No water in sight anywhere. I don't know if many of you have been to San Diego, but it's right on the shore.
It's a big harbor.
Now, why is that a big deal? Because in L.A., which is not right on the shore, there's giant seawalls built to keep the rising ocean out. But you get to San Diego, which does not have any seawalls, doesn't have any water, right on the shore. And so there was this giant glaring hole in the design of San Diego. And then you get there. The reason he's there is to go to an orphanage. The only people in San Diego are these scavengers who are like savages who shoot at his car. But then when you get to the orphanage, they're all like, did you come to buy or to adopt or whatever? And you're like, how many people brave getting shot at to come buy or adopt orphan children?
How bad is your kid addiction that you're going to brave getting shot down by scavengers to go pick one up?
Right.
I mean, yeah, it seems a little odd.
It was very, I mean, they wanted
It was a cool look. It was a cool scene.
That was it. They were shooting for a cool looking scene, but then messed up the entire, like, feel of the world by doing that. None of the stuff made sense.
Right. Now, like I said, there's plenty other things that we kind of had issues with, but they're all stuff like this that are like, when you break it down, it doesn't make sense.
There's just little inconsistencies.
That you're like, this, they're not exactly huge plot holes, but they're not a whole. There's a few logic leaps.
There is one other big plot hole that maybe we should talk about.
Okay. Right. And I know what you're talking about because this is part of the logic leaps I was talking about.
Right, yeah.
Where he thinks he's Dekker's son, right? He thinks he's the miracle android child, or replicant child that was born.
Right, yeah.
But we've already, like you said, you've already established that he has that you can tell his models have serial numbers on their body parts. Like a simple scan would determine whether or not he had serial numbers or not.
Right. Well, and then he's got the programming where he obeys.
Yep.
You've got just
there's a few logic leaps.
There's a few logic leaps that he could have easily confirmed or denied that he was a child, not a replicant.
Right.
Because at this point, the child of somebody, even if it's two replicants, they're not going to be born with a serial number.
Right.
So at the very least, you can check for that.
Yeah. I mean, and the fact that when he found out about this, that there was a child, no one assumed that Batista's character was the father.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
no one in the movie
assumed that at all.
But
yet he's the one that
had the body.
That had the body.
Lovingly preserved it.
Yeah, lovingly buried. Kept the baby booty hidden. Right.
Yes.
So I mean,
there was nothing to lead you to believe it was anybody other than his. At that point, we didn't know until later.
Yeah. That
it was Rachel. That
was
that. But then there was still nothing that made you assume that Dekker was the father.
Right.
So why, until he actually confirms it in their meeting, why would this guy not think that he had killed his father?
Yeah, exactly.
You killed Dave Bautista. That was your father.
Yeah.
Up until you confirmed that it was Dekker.
Yeah, but no, not any time during the movie did anyone assume, even the police chief.
Yeah.
No one assumed that was the father.
Right.
Oh, we need to find out who the father is. Who I find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was no indication. No one made that. So they made this leap of logic that it was somebody else.
Right.
For some reason.
And then he made a leap of logic that it was Dekker from a few second clip audio recording of Dekker doing the interview with Rachel.
Right.
The replicant, determined when she was a replicant. It's like, and the only thing he determined from that is, and obviously we're going to chalk that up to him being a replicant and being able to notice these kind of things.
Yeah.
He said, she's into him. Yeah. Over a few sentences of recording.
I mean, he does establish that he notices that there's something up with the bones and has them zoom in several times. Yeah. So he can notice minute details.
Well, he's basically programmed to be a detective.
Yeah. So I was okay with that leap of logic, but that was a leap to she's into him. But that's it. So that's all he said.
So he must be the father.
Yeah. The idea that then that means he's the father.
Yeah. There's a few leaps of logic to move the story along, which is fine. And some of those, I'm okay with leaps of logic you have to make sometimes to further the story.
And actually, just to clarify before we get comments about this or not, he actually finds Dekker because he's looking for the source of the little wooden horse he has. So he doesn't actually go looking to expect to find Dekker there.
Yeah.
He just, as soon as he gets there and finds that Dekker's there, then he connects the two pieces and says, that must be the case.
Right.
And then proceeds as if it's fact. Because he doesn't say, did this happen, He just says, what was her name?
Yeah.
It's like he's demanding an answer to a question he factually knows has to be asked.
Right. Another issue I have with the movie is kind of like a drop subplot of the replicant uprising.
Yeah.
Right? Whose pretty much sole purpose in the movie was to have a character basically tag K so they can rescue him later. Basically, they show up to rescue him. They get him out of a spot where he's...
Yeah, they almost become like a Deus Ex Machina on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they serve no other purpose in the movie.
They're there to rescue Kay in this one scene, mention that they're ready for an uprising, and that
and then tell him he's not the
one, right? And have a kind of a weird, inhuman three-way with Kay and his hologram. But other than that, there's really not. There's really no reason for him to be in the movie. I mean, they tease kind of like an uprising plot. I'm like, is there going to be like a big uprising overthrow at the end? No, there's nothing.
No.
They're just there to rescue him.
It really makes me hope that, and I noticed, again, some of the reviewers who are real fans are teasing the idea and seem excited about the idea that this might become a franchise and they might make more movies. I think that would be a huge mistake.
Yeah, these movies are not designed to be
This isn't a franchising.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: is you texted me the other day, like, it bombed 31 million.
Yeah.
It's a 150 to 250 million budget movie. It made 31 million in its opening weekend.
The chance of it making
it's not going to make its money back.
Yeah,
so it's not going to be a franchise. So if that was the intent with that tease,
yeah,
it's probably not going to happen.
Right. I mean,
which is disappointing. It's disappointing that they put in an element of the movie just to tease a possible future movie.
Yeah.
It's just deal with it.
These are high concept movies that are not designed to be prolonged. They're not like franchise or action adventure movies. Something something along those lines.
This is made to make you think.
Story. This is a movie to make you think, and it does make you think. It's really good at that. It makes you question these things. The problem with this one is
it makes you think about the same things the first movie
it
made
does,
you think about.
And it makes you think too. When you start thinking about it too deeply, you start uncovering some of the plot holes of the movie. Yeah. But okay, I mean, there's stuff like that, minor things like that. We just want to point those out that this is not. I mean, it was an entertaining movie.
Yeah, we were engaged. Like, we both came out of the movie going, "Wow, I was so engaged in that movie. Right. I was so into what was going on." If this hadn't been if this hadn't been Blade Runner, if this had just been a new movie with a new concept, there had never been a Blade Runner before, and it had tackled all these things, it would have been, you tackled these really well.
Right.
There was a lot of cool little ways to view it from different angles. Humans and replicants interacting,
or
replicants and holograms interacting,
yeah.
replicant and replicant interacting. It was cool.
Again, they don't answer the question. I know somebody asking, is Dekker a replicant? No, I think in the final cut there is it's pretty succinct. It's pretty fact that he's a replicant. They hint at it in this movie. They don't come out and say one way or the other whether he is or not. He isn't. And they hint strongly that he is, but then they also kind of leave it open to where he might not be.
Yeah.
So we don't know. Is the child because humans and replicants can mate? Can two replicants mate?
Yeah.
We don't know. They don't answer that question.
And it really doesn't matter. In the course of the thing, that's the thing, is this whole subplot about the replicant baby really has nothing to do with it, other than to say if something can procreate, does that make, or if somebody can have a human child, or
it's another
does
gun
it make
in
them
the
a
chamber
human?
to the are they humans? Argument.
That's it.
But I mean,
it was a new way to look at the same theme.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. Our ramblings about this 3-hour-long movie. Hopefully, we kept this under 3 hours rambling about it.
Yes.
It does. Like I said, it is a beautiful movie, and I don't want to. I'm not here to crap on the movie because it's really. I'm a fan of everybody involved in this movie. I believe people should see this movie. Especially if you're a Blade Runner fan.
Yeah.
Right. But I can't give it the gushing praise that a lot of people have.
Right. That was my biggest problem here. I would have been like, this is a good movie. Yeah, except for the fact that there was just this gushing, this was brilliant. This was, and people who say this was better than the first, I disagree with you.
Rutger Hauer's speech at the end of the first movie sums up the concepts of both these movies are trying to do better than anything else in the movies.
In either of the two movies.
Of the two movies. Yeah. So, I mean, go see Blade Runner if you haven't seen Blade Runner. And then if you want to
see Blade, I would say see 2049. It is a good movie. It just don't look too deeply while looking deeply at the
the high concepts.
But don't look too deeply at the plot holes.
Yeah, exactly. But entertaining. It doesn't need to be a trilogy or any kind of franchise.
It really didn't need to be 2 hours and 44 minutes long.
And it didn't need to be 2 hours and 40. Yeah, they could have been cut down by a half hour at least.
Yeah,
and got the same point across. But it is beautiful. I wouldn't recommend it in IMAX because of the glaring sound.
Yeah, just watch it regular. I don't think you need to see it in 3D either. Just watch it at a regular theater. Yeah, it is a great movie. But I mean, great movie to see. Yeah, the spectacle. And everything else. Yeah. So, all right, folks, there you have it. We got a 7.5 from us. Yep. Would have been higher if it wasn't for some of the retreaded and some of the plot holes. Yeah. But Blade Runner 2049, have you seen it? Tell us below what you think of the movie. You find any of the plot holes that we missed, or you think we're totally crazy, this was the best movie ever? Let us know. We'll listen to everybody. Everybody's comment on it. Everybody has their own opinion.
They do. I have tons. That's why I have a YouTube channel, so I can spit my opinions out at you people. Thanks, guys. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends about us. Check out our other shows on the channel. If you want to be a supporter of this channel, we have a link to our Patreon down below. All of our Patreons get to see some of our videos early.
Yeah, some outtakes occasionally.
Yeah, cool stuff like T-shirts and whatnot.
For the higher levels, yeah.
Yep. So check it out. Check out the Patreon page. See if there's anything that you'd like. And thank you for your support. And we'll be back next time.
Thanks.